Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Stockwatch, and joining me in studio this evening are Chantal Marx from F&B Securities and Gerbrand Smit from NEFG Fund Managers. If you'd like to send questions, please do. Email us, stockwatch@bdtv.co.za. You can try SMS line. I'm not sure if it's working tonight, but it's stock and the question to 33814, but maybe stick with the emails for the time being. Gerbrand, Chantal, nice to have you in studio tonight. Chantal, not a bad day for the markets. Lots of company news to digest. And I guess the biggest for our local market was Shoprite and Steinhoff calling off that proposed combination.
Yeah, it was a very important announcement, and you saw both share prices rally quite significantly. And it's probably minority shareholders just kind of breathing a sigh of relief that they won't be done in, and that's basically what they were expecting. We saw these two shares being the second and third highest traded stocks on the JSE after Naspers, by value, of course. Yeah, so a busy day on the market. A little bit of rand weakness also supporting the industrial stocks as well as the resources shares, but financial struggled a bit with the rand weakening.
Yeah. Gerbrand, are you relieved? Do you have different, are you now maybe more confident in buying Shoprite or Steinhoff, given that they're going to go it alone for this point in time?
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure what their rationale was for doing the whole transaction. Maybe economies of scale or whatever was in the back of their minds. But yes, it just shows you that unsurety is not something that the markets do like, and unsurety were taken out of the market, and you saw both share prices rally. Wasn't supposed to rally both, but just shows you that the market doesn't like any
uncertainty,
insecurities and so forth in these markets. Both are probably priced fairly where they are at the moment. But Shoprite were like 8% higher, and I think Steinhoff were like 4.5% at the end of the day. So, yeah, a bit more for Shoprite shareholders. They were probably scared of being more others than food retailing, etc., exposure for them, and maybe getting the short stick on PE multiples, etc. But yeah, I think markets were a bit relieved.
I mean, Chantal, would you be buying Shoprite at this point? So clearly there's been an overhang on the Shoprite share price, the fact that it jumped 8% today. Do you think there's confidence now that you know what you're getting when you're buying Shoprite shares, and it's not going to be Steinhoff?
Well, if I were interested in food retailers, probably. But the way that inflation is going at the moment, and soft commodity inflation, you would probably prefer food producers over food retailers. And as you mentioned, that rally probably bringing Shoprite back to fair value range.
And Steinhoff, do either of you like Steinhoff at this point in time?
Yes, so we are Steinhoff shareholders at F&B Securities. We think that there's a lot of value unlock in terms of merger synergies with the new mergers and acquisitions that they announced. Obviously, this Shoprite story was a bit of an overhang and a bit of a concern for us as well. And because you didn't know what kind of value to place on it, it was very difficult to analyze. So we kind of just held on, and I think we'd also be happy that this overhang is gone.
Gerbrand, you, on the other hand, have been selling off your Steinhoff shares.
Yeah, look, not recently. We thought 62 or 64 rand a share, and recently 66 rand a share. As of on Friday, we're still cheap enough to hold on to your shares. We sold on top of 90.
Okay.
But we were the buyers of those things at 20 rand a share and a price to book of 0.6. So they did seriously good deals in Europe when the credit crunch was there, etc. And they bought with cheap credit. They bought seriously cheap shares like Conforama and those days. Pepkor, we think, was a bit expensive. So we think it's been a bit diluted with some of the newer acquisitions, but they still got huge ambitions, and that's probably the scary part. Is if you wake up tomorrow, they might have bought something nice, and you might have missed out on some of these things. But we don't think it's a sitting duck anymore, like it used to be at a 0.6. It's probably fair value where it is now. All depends on where the currency goes from here.
Okay. So the company results that came out and trading updates, there was trading updates from Avenge, MMI, Discovery. Discovery, the market didn't seem to like very much.
Yeah.
Are you nervous about, or just disappointed in the kind of earnings forecast that they've put out?
So with Discovery, there's been a lot of chatter in the market around whether or not they'll have to come to the market and raise more capital to finance their banking ambitions. Well, I mean, the market analysts are a little bit split on that one. A lot of people are saying these guys are good allocators of capital and they'll be able to do this on their own. And there's just a little bit of nervousness around Discovery at the moment. And they came out with a core HEPS growth guidance of between 0 and 5% growth. And the market was looking for around 8-9%. So not a massive disappointment, but enough to scare some of the investors off who are already a little bit jittery around the share.
Gerbrand, are you also jittery about Discovery?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. We've been looking at it quite closely because some of our competitors recently bought lots of these shares. They are some of the better compounder companies in the insurance industry if you look at where they were 10 years back or 5 years back and where they're now. So it's certainly something you want long-term wise in your portfolio. So they are good stewards of capital over long periods of time. And I think they've got exciting projects going forward. The banking license is one of them. We know that the Vitality product, they can enhance offshore, etc. And lots of people are saying that's going to be one of the better exports of South Africa in the past few years. So there's a lot of positives for them. I think the market were expecting, like Chantal said, a bit more. But if you look at some of the other peers coming out with results like MMI that yesterday were a trading statement, it seems like they're still the winners in that sector on headline earnings per share or core headline earnings per share growth. So I won't be too much concerned if I were a holder at this stage.
Yeah, I suppose, Liberty was a disaster. MMI posting a drop in headline earnings, so Discovery at least a bit of growth there. While we wait for the laptop and the questions to come through, there was a question that I managed to pick up before it was taken away from me, and that is Aspen. And I think there's a bit of concern about the drop in the share price, and I certainly got an email earlier today concerned about a possible investigation into price manipulation of drugs in Europe that Aspen is now being investigated for. Presumably, this is one of the reasons why the shares have come under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it actually came out towards the end of last year that there was an investigation into price manipulation, specifically into oncology medicine in Italy, which is it just sounds really, really evil. Obviously, these guys aren't too concerned about it. It's a very small part of their business at the moment. And Aspen's share price really has been under a lot of pressure because of the kind of perfect storm conditions that the company faced last year. A weaker rand really putting pressure on its input prices into its active ingredient that it uses to manufacture these medicines. Massive currency devaluation in Venezuela really playing a part there. So a difficult time for Aspen. The weakness in the share price is probably not related to this investigation in Italy.
Okay. Gerbrand, I mean, is the weakness in the share price an opportunity to buy Aspen at lower levels, or could you be stuck with maybe something of a lemon for the next few months if conditions don't improve for it?
Yeah, look, it just shows you if you buy a company that's at a PE of 40, there's dangers towards expectations already put into the share price. And I think they were one of those that just from their successes, etc., the share price ran away from reality for quite some time. Strong rand's not helping them. They've got lots of foreign currency incomes and businesses, etc. So yeah, they're going to have a few headwinds. 37p depends on what they come out. If you look at forward P, they're looking at about a 16 or 17. If you look at Bloomberg on the analyst side, I think they're going to be a little bit light on those figures, and that's what's being priced into the share price. Another thing that concerns us is they used to be this massive generic growth story, and that's the next thing that they're going to be and forever, etc. And if you look at what they've been acquiring over the last 2 years, they've actually told nobody, but they've started shifting towards more older medicine that they got at cheaper prices, and that's something that concerned us from a point of view of what is management doing here, because they used to sell themselves as a up-and-coming generic emerging market play, lots of growth in that specific space, and now all of a sudden they're buying older medicines at lower P's with high share prices, which is okay for shareholders, but it seems like they've changed course a little bit, and that's a bit of concern for us.
What about MTN? Is it worth holding, and what are the panel's views on AB InBev and also BAT? No, I'm not sure if they're referring to British American Tobacco or Brates with a stronger rand. So let's talk about all of those. But MTN, is it worth holding for now? Because you're not doing well out of it. And in fact, you seem to be losing money on it.
Yeah, so MTN is a stock that we actually sold out of quite some time ago, as soon as their troubles in Nigeria really started. But what you are getting now is a company that, relatively speaking, looks a lot cheaper than the likes of a Vodacom. And you've also got the lower base factored in. So if you are a holder, it might not be a good idea to get rid of it right away, but it might still be too early to get involved from a long perspective.
Okay, so don't buy, but hang on.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay. Gerbrand, do you have a different view about MTN?
We're holders and we're buying at the moment, so we think at 115 it's still a company that's got 240 million customers. We know of all the headwinds. There's nothing new towards it. We know the Naira has weakened. We know the oil price is weaker. We know they had the fines, etc. They don't cut off people aggressively and soon enough, etc. So all that's already in the hemisphere. I think there's a lot of bad news priced into the share price. What we also know is that if you take an okay company like MTN was, and you put new management into that, you get great returns normally. So I think you got some serious great returns waiting for you. And there's not much
but that's
there's
on
not
expectation.
much value in the market over at the moment. Eh?
But Gerbrand, that's a lot of hope you're sort of pricing in, isn't it? So admittedly, these are all really strong people that they've brought into the management team.
It sounds similar to Anglo about a year back, eh?
Okay, point taken. Okay, so MTN for you, worth it. What about AB InBev and let's say Brace, if I'm interpreting that correct?
Okay, yeah, so AB InBev, obviously a stronger rand isn't ideal because it is a rand hedge. And AB InBev also, you have to give it a little bit of time. It just took over SAB Miller. There are massive merger synergies to be realized, but it's going to take longer than probably investors hoped for at the beginning of this tie-up. It's a complex business merging with a complex business, but hopefully once those synergies start coming through, you'll see a good PE unwind and also shareholder value being created.
Gerbrand?
Yeah, look, it's a quality business. These guys have done it many times before. As Chantal said, the currency is certainly going to hamper them probably for the next year or so. They are not cheap. They're trading at a 21p multiple for the full year. And you like to get these companies at a 15 or a 16p multiple. I'm not saying it's going there. Sometimes you never get it.
Yeah.
But a few years back, you could have bought Heineken at a 13p, and I think that was a good buy. This thing is on our radar screens because it came down from 2,000 to 2,400 rand a share. We think it's not cheap enough yet.
On your radar screens, would 3G Capital be interesting to either of you? Because 3G, of course, is the private equity firm that was partly behind the AB InBev takeover of SAB Miller. They were backing the Heinz Kraft takeover of Unilever, which has now been stumped. And the FT was running with a story saying that they've got about $15 billion worth of capital sloshing around. They really want to do a deal. Would you buy a private equity company like that?
Yeah, we aren't really we've got a separate private equity business that looks at that kind of thing. But I would be more interested to know what they are trying to buy next or what deal they're trying to bewangle next, because I think there you can find a lot of opportunities in the listed equity market, and you don't have the issues that are involved with owning private equity.
Cameron, do you have any thoughts of what they might be interested in if they're not going after Unilever?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of things on their radar screen. They normally look at food companies, and AB InBev is another version of soft drinks and beer, etc. So they normally like the Buffett-style investment because we know Buffett is invested a little bit there as well, so he normally has a say in some of those things as well. So a lot of solid cash flow businesses is normally the ones that they do hunt, and they're always looking for big elephants. So huge companies where synergies are there, etc.
Right, well, we'll leave it there for the moment. If you'd like to send questions, please email us, stockwatch@bdtv.co.za, and we'll be back after the break.